Greetings, everyone. We will be looking at health today as one of the topics among New Start series. So we can start with a dear Lord, please teach us your faith of. We pray this in Amen. So we are talking about rest, as we have already highlighted. This quotation, we have been reading it over and over again. I'm going to read it again. It says, pure air, sunlight, abstemiousness, which is temperance, rest, exercise, proper diet, the use of water, trust in divine power. These are the true remedies. This remedy today that we are talking about is rest. The whole package. You cannot run away with one, then you focus on rest, or you focus on proper diet or exercise without the rest. Trust in God. So by the help of God, we are going to cover these points: the benefits of good rest, the causes of poor sleep, because we are aware that there are people who don't really actually get enough sleep and a good sleep. What are the causes of those? And also, what are the effects? And how can you rectify that? And how can you improve that? So we are going to make sure that at the end of this presentation, all those questions are answered. So why rest? Sleep takes up around 1/3 of each 24-hour period, which is like 8 hours. That's a lot. What should we understand about how and why we benefit from it, especially in? So 1/3 of each and every 24-hour period, sleep takes up that time. That's why we have to look at it. Rest is a condition wherein the human body is permitted to heal, reabsorb the natural forces that it has lost through the use and abuse of the body and mind. Daily and each and every moment, we labor, we abuse our system. So we use it. It needs to recover, and a way to recover is through rest. And then we read from medical ministry that they who sleep, they give nature time to build up and repair the weary waste of the organism. Then, since the work of building up the body takes place during the hours of rest, it is essential, especially in youth, that sleep should be regular and abundant. We are answering the question today, why? Why rest? Because most of the building of the body takes up during the hours where nature will restore their vigor and strength in their sleeping hours if her laws are not violated. So if you do not violate any law that we have covered and that we are still going to cover, one of all those 8 laws of health, if you do not violate them, then you will find that rest is going to be very beneficial to you. And then we will see how all this actually interlink together, all of them. What examples do we have in the life of Christ and the disciples with respect to the need of rest? We're going to look at Mark chapter 6 as well as Luke chapter 8. Mark says, and he said unto them, the disciples, come ye yourself apart in a desert place and rest a while. For there were many coming and going, and they had no leisure so much as to eat. So Christ is saying unto them, depart into a desert place and take a rest. But as they sailed, he fell asleep, and there came down a storm of wind on the lake, and they were filled with water. And were in jeopardy. So sleep is good. If you are weary, you sleep, then your body gets that chance to recharge. So the disciples of Jesus, when we read from My Life Today, says they needed to be educated as to how they should labor and how they should rest. So it's not only about laboring throughout, it's also about how you should rest. Take time so that your body can rejuvenate again, be able to continue with the work. You do not have to abuse the system. Today there is a need that God's chosen workmen should listen to the command of Christ to go apart and a while. The Savior was at last relieved from the pressure of the multitude and overcome with weariness and hunger. He lay down the stern of the boat and soon fell asleep. So it's not a sin to sleep. We have to. So it's not only about having plenty of sleep, but it's about the right amount of sleep and the right quality of sleep. Are you getting good quality of sleep? And how are you going to achieve this good quality of sleep? Because sometimes you find yourself you are just sleeping the whole day. Is that a good quality sleep? So we have to define what a good quality sleep is. Not only focusing on the quantity, but the quality is very important. So the first point that can affect both your quality and your quantity of sleep is eating several hours before going to bed. Like if you eat several hours, you are fine. But then if you eat immediately and then you go to bed, why? It says another pernicious habit is that of eating just before bedtime. As a result of eating late suppers, the digestive process is continued through the sleeping hours. So now we understand why we have to understand nutrition. What does nutrition as the first law of health has to do with rest? If you do not understand how you should eat, it is eventually going to affect your rest, its quality and its quantity. Because now you just ate, you are going to sleep. What's going to happen? Your digestive process is continuing through your sleeping hours. But though the stomach works constantly, its work is not properly accomplished. The sleep is often disturbed with unpleasant dreams. You're going to have all these kind of dreams. And in the morning, you're going to wake up unrefreshed at all, still tired, and you wonder why. But you slept a lot of hours, but still you wake up not refreshed. It's because you slept, you ate, and then you slept. When we lie down to rest, the stomach should have all its work done, that as well as the other organs of the body may enjoy rest. So your whole system must enjoy that. Don't let the digestive system labor through hours. The second thing we're going to look at, that is, if you don't take care of this as well, it's going to affect the quality and the quantity of your sleep. Number 2 is air circulation. Another law of health that is connected to rest. Air circulation. Those who have not had a free circulation of air in their rooms through the night generally awake feeling exhausted. It means the rest did not do its job of recharging your body. Why? You did not have free circulation of air in the room. You're gonna wake up feeling exhausted, feverish, and you're not gonna know the cause. But it was air vital air that the whole system required, but which it could not obtain. So if you want to have a good sleep at night, make sure there is circulation of air. You cannot do away with this loss of health. You cannot take them in isolation independently. It's not going to work. Then the third thing that is going to affect the quality and the quantity of your sleep is physical activity. We sometimes become weary, but we rest and sleep well through the night. You know, when you go to sleep at night and you've been waking, like you have been waking throughout the day, you're gonna have the most sweetest sleep. It says, and in the morning, we sometimes become weary, but we rest and sleep well through the night. And in the morning, we feel fresh and ready for our days. So actually, proper exercise daily is going to induce your sleep. So if you have not been having a good sleep, just try it. Engage in a physical activity during the day, and then try it at night. You're gonna have the most best sleep. Ecclesiastes chapter 5 verse 12, it says this as well, that the sleep of a laboring man they may be weary, but how sweet is rest after a proper amount of labor. Not excessive, proper amount of labor. Sleep, nature's sweet restorer, invigorates the tired body and prepares it for the next day's. So if you are tired because you were waking throughout the day, fine, you're gonna have that 1/3 of 24 hours in, and then your body is going to invigorate again, going to recharge, and then you're gonna have that energy for the next days. So a good respiration. So if you breathe well, you have that air in your room, you work, and then we can see that you cannot actually, I'm going to emphasize this again, you cannot say you are more focused on one part. The only thing you do is diet. The only thing you do is exercise. You actually have to consider everything. Consider trust in God as well, because we are doing all these things to the glory of God after all. Here is something that I want us to look at, as well as one of the things that is going to affect your sleep. There is this thing of, it's called early to bed and early to rise. People are just busy. The world is just busy. You don't even have enough time to go to bed because you are laboring so much. But people are actually even like hiding in that to say, no, we have to make money or the world is busy. Can't really sleep. You're gonna go hungry. But it's we need our body to be recharged, renewed the next morning so that we can work. Books are being written here that the city that never sleeps, talking about New York, that is a city that never sleeps. So it's a busy city. People don't really sleep. 2 hours is enough. People are busy going up and down. Why? They have changed the night into day. The light is short because of that. So people feel like the day is too short. I need to take some of the hours of the night and turn them into day so that I can accomplish as much as I can. But is that the order of? Is that how God wanted it to be? What is the best advice about going to sleep early in a world that stays up all night long? From Psalms 104 and also 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. Those are the verses that I want us to look to. Psalms 104, it says, man goeth forth unto his work, to his labor, and to his labor until evening. So you have to push as much work as, I don't know, and you feel like the day doesn't have enough hours, but you do not understand the effect, the impact that that is on yourself. First Thessalonians says, ye are all the children of light and the children of the day. We are not of the night nor of the darkness, for they that sleep at night and they that be drunken, so they that sleep, they sleep at night. Physicians should teach that by studying after 9 o'clock, there is nothing gained but much. Sometimes we think we are doing greater good and we're going to achieve much. If we study, like your mind is already exhausted and you want to force it to grasp as much time, as much information as it can possibly get, but you do not understand that at that point, your body needs to rest. Then you are stretching it, stretching it. Make it a habit not to sit up after. Every light should be extinguished. This turning night into day is a wretched, health-destroying habit. So it's a habit, continual thing, something that is being done. It's a habit which needs to be stopped. And this reading much by brain workers up to the sleeping hours. 1 o'clock at night. While you were studying throughout the whole day, and then you took that also. It is very injurious to health. It calls the blood to the brain. And then there is restlessness and wakefulness. And the precious sleep which should rest the body does not come when tired. Especially should brain workers begin to be not in any way excited as they draw nigh their hours of sleep. So you become rest, because that time of the night, your body needs to rest. It's telling you that I need to rest. But what do you do instead? You drink energy drinks, all those kind of pills, whatever, so that you can work against the body. Sleep is worth far more before than after. 2 hours good sleep before 12 o'clock is worth more than 4 hours after. That is manual. In our schools, the lights should be put out at 9:30. So over and over, this is repeated in the spirit of prophecy. Some youth are much opposed to order and discipline. They do not respect the rules of the home by rising at a regular. They lie in bed some hours after daylight. 10 o'clock in the morning, someone is still sleeping. When everyone should be astir, they burn the midnight oil, depending upon artificial light to supply the place of the light that nature has provided at seasonable hours. Why would you find someone still sleeping 10 a.m.? It's because they didn't sleep at night. They were burning the oil, the midnight oil, depending on the superficial light. And then we continue. Our God is a God of order. And he desires that his children will bring themselves into order and under his discipline. Would it not be better, therefore, to break up this habit? So this is just a habit that we have created of turning night into day and the fresh hours of the morning into night. If the youth would form habits of regularity and honor and order, they would improve in health, in spirits, in memory, and in disposition. So as much as you were able to form that habit that is not good, you can also form habits which are good, that will help you get enough rest and then have order, because our God is a God of order. So it's a habit. That's one thing that I want us to note, that this thing is a habit and it needs to stop. Because it's a habit doesn't mean it's right. So I want us to look at something, that we've got exceptions. We've got a rule that you have to sleep 2 hours before midnight. But there are exceptions. I want us to be very clear on these ones. We're going to look at Luke chapter 6, verse 12, and Matthew 14, verse 25. But exceptions, they do not abolish the rule. Okay, let's look at this verse. It says, and it came to pass in those days that he went out into a mountain to pray, and continued all night in prayer to God. These are exceptions. These are not habits. We have been reading about habits of turning day into night and night into day. But here we are told that it came to pass that in those days he went out into the mountain and he continued all night in prayer to God. Was this a habit? It was not a habit. At night he would sleep. But this day he went. In those days he went, and then he continued all night in prayer to God. Before I say something, I want to look at another verse. In Matthew 14, verse 25. And in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went unto them, walking on. This was at night. These are exceptions, not habits. What am I talking about? Okay, someone here would have said, maybe went to Jesus with a coat. Say, don't you know it's at night? You should be sleeping by now. When Exodus chapter 17, verse 11 and 12, it says, and it came to pass when Moses held up his hand that Israel prevailed, and when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. Remember, these are not habits but exceptions. Moses is holding up his hand. They get weary, he gets tired. Was he breaking the law of rest? Usually you find, okay, I will say it like this. Usually you find things like this happening to people who take the laws of health in isolation. We are busy in a Bible study. Is at 10. We have to understand a topic. Someone stands up and leave and say, no, I have to be asleep. Without even understanding the topic that is being discussed. That is one of the signs that we are taking these laws of health in isolation. We do not understand that it's one whole. Also, another example, our pioneers, they would read. If there was a point that they were not understanding, they will read up until midnight so that they can understand that point that they wanted to understand. Sometimes the whole night. Was that a habit? It was not a habit. But it was needful that they do. So we should not really move. Because sometimes when we read quotations like this, it's easier for us to run with it and say, 2 hours, you are still studying in the middle of a Bible study, 2 hours before. So we need to be very careful on how we read. Testimonies, volume 2, page 704, it says, "It is displeasing to God for Sabbath keepers to sleep during much of the Sabbath." This is another problem. Why would you find Sabbath keepers sleeping during much of the hours of the Sabbath? They dishonor their Creator in so doing. And by their example, what do they say? That the 6 days are too precious for them to spend in resting. So you couldn't rest during 6 days because you were too busy with your businesses, doing everything. You didn't have any time to rest during the week. So you are saying 6 days are too precious to spend in resting. You have to make money. That's what the quotation is saying. They must make money, although it be by robbing themselves of needed sleep, which they make up by sleeping away holy time. Such make a wrong use of the sanctified day. So you do not rest during the 6 hours. You do not sleep. If I should use this so that we understand. You do not sleep. You weary yourself that you only sleep 2 hours, 3 hours. Then you're like, I've got the Sabbath. Because on Sabbath I cannot do my businesses. I will spend these hours sleeping. It says, such make a wrong use of the sanctified day. What weekly blessing is for physical, spiritual, and mental rest? So when we read Exodus chapter 20, verse 8 to 11, it says that God gave us this weekly blessing, not only for our physical rest, but for our spiritual and for our mental. We're going to read this last quotation from My Life Today, page 133. It says, though time is short and there is a great work to be done, the Lord is not pleased to have us so prolong our seasons of activity that there will not be time for periods of rest, for the study of the Bible, God. So yes, time is short. Spiritually, time is short. We know we have so much. We have so much work to do. But yet, the Lord is not. If we so overwork and labor, but we should have time, periods for rest, then periods for studying the Bible. So it's the bad habits that we should actually do away with and start for good habits. May the Lord help us faithful to it. Amen.